My name is Avery Simundsson, and I'm a graduate student here in Biosystems Engineering, and I'm working in agricultural water management. So my project specifically focuses on one kind of drainage that will help in the conditions we're seeing in climate change. So we've been seeing a lot of excess moisture, which causes soil to be saturated, which means it's just full of water. And when that happens for a long period of time, then crops can't grow. So we're looking at a better way to manage that water so that it can be have more reliable and sustainable crop yields year after year. I grew up on a farm actually in the Interlake, which has been one of the regions that's been the worst affected by excess moisture over the past decade. They've lost close to 25% of the entire crop in that region some years. So I kind of grew up around it. I went kayaking in my parents' fields because they had so much water in them. And I kind of saw every year they would go through all this planning and all this work only to be drowned out by something they have no control over. So I had a background in it to begin with, and I actually work full-time at an agricultural research organization called PAMI in Portage-la-Prairie. And when they hired me, they were actually looking for someone to do a literature review on whether tile drainage would be kind of a good technology to bring to Manitoba, because it's used a lot in Ontario, it's used a lot in the Midwest states, and it's just starting to become more popular here, but it's very expensive. And the design can depend on a lot of things, what kind of cropping system you have, what soil type your field is. So it doesn't necessarily work everywhere, and before farmers start investing these thousands and thousands of dollars in a system that's very permanent, they wanted to assess it to see if it would work for our cropping systems. So they hired me, I did the literature review, and Dr. Ranjan here at the university has been one of the only professors to do research in this area in this province. So I found his name, and I was calling him, asking him all these questions all the time about tile drainage and his research and what does he think, and eventually he just said, "You're doing this work, you're interested in it, have you ever considered doing a master's?" So that's kind of how I got into it. So tile drainage is something you can't see. It's just a series of perforated pipes underground. So it works very similar to weeping tile around your house. And all it does is it provides a space for the water to leave by gravity. So it doesn't increase the flow, it doesn't change the water dynamics necessarily. It just allows, say for example, it's 3 feet below the surface. It just allows the water in that top 3 feet where the roots are growing to slowly drain by gravity and just leave through the pipe. And so, if I can use an analogy, the best way I described it before is if you're in line waiting to get into a concert. You're at the back of a very long line, and there's nothing you can do but wait for every single person in front of you to get into the concert hall at whatever speed the line is moving. But if you open up the VIP line, it allows the people who are most critical to the concert's success to get in quickly and efficiently without really affecting the main line. So it just funnels that water in that critical portion of soil just out of the field more quickly and efficiently. It can be installed in a number of ways, but generally the most common is just kind of lines up and down the field, going down the slope, leading to a main pipe that carries the water away. And the closer you put those tile, the more space the water has to go and the faster it drains. And when you start spacing them out, it might be more economical, but you're taking the chance that in some situations, maybe it won't be designed quite to the capacity to deal with, a huge rainfall or a big spring melt. I actually did a talk up in Arbor, which is where I'm from, and it's one of those towns in the Interlake that's had a really hard time with excess moisture in the past decade. And I gave a talk there, and lots of producers come out to see it, and they all there's only one producer I know of in the area that's actually installed it, but everybody's waiting to see what we're gonna say, if that makes sense, because they're tired of losing crop year after year or not being able to seed till June and missing all this opportunity. And if this is something that can help, it'll be a big game changer for them. And there's even possibilities of growing different kinds of crops they've never been able to before if they're able to make sure that moisture is out of the soil at all the critical times. So in other areas, I think the Southwest is where it's kind of been more popular in Manitoba. There are farmers there who have been doing it for a number of years, and they're really excited to see some research being done in the area and some information going out to the public. Because as soon as you talk about water management, everybody gets up in arms, because once the water leaves the field, it's now everybody's business. And it affects the environment, everyone's concerned about pollution, and rightly so, but having some information publicly available from an unbiased source is really important to a lot of producers, just so they can get the answers that they need. Farming is an expensive industry to begin into these days because land is so expensive, equipment's very expensive, and it's a big risk. And it's hard to watch someone you know is working so hard to plan everything out, put in all this effort, do everything right, and then get rained out by something they have no control over. So farming in general has come the developments have been incredible in the past decades in terms of precision agriculture. We can control seed placement, seed depth. We have incredibly efficient equipment. We've done amazing things with genetics and new varieties, and we've done so much to start controlling every aspect because we want to produce more food for a growing population without cutting down more forests from our agricultural land. But something like crop moisture, which is arguably one of the most important things in crop production, is something we leave completely to chance in most cases. Of course, there's irrigation in different systems, but generally we rely on the weather, which, as we all know, is very unpredictable and unreliable, and that's what we rely on to provide water to our crops. So water management is really lagging compared to other aspects of technology in agriculture, and if we can do something about that, it just has huge, huge implications for our ability to grow consistent yields and different crops year after year. This research is almost a starting point. And I don't want to say the research is the easy part, but getting the information out there, for me, is the most important part of research. I can do all this work, but if nobody knows about it, what good is it doing? But if I can kind of share this and be involved in future research projects or work with farmers who are just starting to install and take research on an actual field scale, go to their farms and start measuring things. I'm kind of doing a similar thing to what I'm doing now, but on a production scale, and sharing that information, then that would be kind of what I would like to do.